Today we're going to do a quick comparison of the DJI Osmo Action versus the GoPro Hero 7 so you can see the most important information and features. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, so we're going to start with video. Both of these action cameras have the same size CMOS sensor. For stabilization, the Osmo Action uses Rocksteady, and for the GoPro it uses Hypersmooth. Both are electronical or digital stabilization. DJI can do it, however, up to 4K, whereas GoPro can only do its stabilization up to 2.7K. Now, no matter what you're shooting, 4K to 1080 with the Osmo Action, you can only use Rocksteady up to 60 frames per second. When these cameras use stabilization, they crop in. So with the Osmo Action, it crops in 18% at 4K 30 frames and then 22% at 4K 60 frames per second, whereas GoPro just crops in 10% no matter what you're shooting. Here you can see the file length. So when you're shooting video, it will record up to a certain amount of time and it will stop recording. As you can see here, the GoPro lasts much longer. Both cameras use a f2.8 lens. You can see the field of view here for both cameras. Now the next category is huge, hyperlapse. Osmo Action doesn't have it, whereas GoPro uses the great time warp mode. For color, both shoot in normal mode, but Osmo Action has D-Cine-like and GoPro has flat mode. Both shoot 4K with pretty much the same frame rates. However, if you look at the bit rate, the Osmo Action is much better, so that's going to give you better video quality. Now, because they're action cameras, they both shoot wide, but they also have a lens correction mode that will straighten everything out like a normal camera. The Osmo Action is called D-Warp. The GoPro is called linear mode. Osmo Action, you can use it in 4K, but linear mode for GoPro, you can only use at 2.7K, not 4K. They both have the same slow motion. The Osmo Action has 2 internal mics versus the GoPro's 1 mic. Now to get external audio, you're going to need an adapter. It's not yet available for the Osmo Action, but it is for the GoPro. Now HDR mode is basically non-existent for both of them. The GoPro doesn't have it, and Osmo Action has it, but without Rocksteady mode, so it's basically useless. The ISOs are about the same, with GoPro going up a little higher. Now if we look at the shutter speed, the Osmo Action has a clear advantage going from 120 seconds to 1/8,000th of a second, which lends itself to much more creative shooting. Alright guys, now we're going to talk about photos. They both shoot 12 megapixel photos. You have the option of JPEG or RAW. However, with the GoPro, you also have the option of HDR photos, whereas Osmo Action doesn't have HDR photos. Like the video, the shutter speed once again goes to the Osmo Action with the huge advantage. However, in burst mode, GoPro destroys the Osmo Action, taking 30 photos per second, versus Osmo Action only 7. Both of them have a timer for 3 seconds or 10 seconds, so if you want to take a group shot or a photo of yourself with someone else and no one's around, they both have it. Osmo Action has auto exposure bracketing, which is great when you're shooting in high contrast areas where you can't really get the exposure. GoPro doesn't have that, but it still shoots HDR photos, which will also help in these situations. Now with the time lapse, the Osmo Action has improved upon the GoPro, allowing it to go all the way up to 300-second intervals. And the ISO is the same when taking photos. Alright, now we're going to talk about important information we haven't mentioned yet. Both are waterproof, but the Osmo Action can go down 1 meter farther just with the unit by itself. Of course, the Osmo Action has that front screen, whereas the GoPro doesn't. And on the back, both are touchscreens, but the Osmo Action is a little bigger at 2¼ inches. Both have rechargeable batteries, but the Osmo Action lasts a little longer and is also quicker to charge. Very impressive considering it has a screen on the front and back. Both have a mount for GoPro accessories. Neither has a tripod mount. Both have Wi-Fi. Both have voice control, so you don't have to use your hands for basic shooting. Now you don't have to use an app, but both have an app as an option. However, you can control the Osmo Action much further away, but the Osmo Action has no live stream, whereas GoPro does have live stream directly to YouTube and Facebook. Both use micro SD cards up to 256 gigs. Size is about the same. Osmo Action is just a tad longer in width, and Osmo Action is just a tad heavier. Won't be able to feel the difference. And as of this recording, Osmo Action is $50 cheaper in price. Though there is a link on Amazon for $50 cheaper for the GoPro Hero 7, making it the same price. This discount most likely won't last long. Alright everyone, I hope you found that helpful. Which do you think has the edge? The Osmo Action or the GoPro Hero 7? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I put links to both the Action and the Hero 7 in the description below. Now, the GoPro Hero 7 is normally $50 more expensive, but if you use the link below for a limited time, it's going to be $349 on Amazon. So just wanted to point that out. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel so you can get some hands-on, in-depth tutorials and creative tips that I'll be showing with the DJI Osmo Action and the GoPro Hero 7. So thanks for watching, guys, and remember, siempre pa'lante, nunca para atrás.